Hello, I'm JW. Today we've got an item which has been sent in, and it's a fuse panel from North America. Now this one actually came from Canada, and it's a fairly old one. As you can see here, it's only got 4 actual fuses in there, but nevertheless the general design of it and things is totally different to the sort of thing you'd have in the UK, and certainly these sort of round glass fuses are pretty much unknown here. So let's have a close look at this one and also the information that came with it. Now this is what we've got here. It's been sent in from Canada, and this is a fairly old one. It's from the 1960s apparently, so not something I'm going to be using obviously today, but this type of thing was pretty much unknown in the UK, and these style of fuses, again, not something which was really used in the UK at all, even back in the 1960s or at any other time. Now this one comes with a nice diagram which they sent in with it. So we've got this here, and as is common in most of North America, the supply is 240 volts, but it's basically split into 2 individual phases. So you've basically got 120 sort of on each side there. So most appliances in North America are 120 volts, and as we see here, it's got the 4 circuits here, or the 4 fuses there, with your 120 coming off either side. And then you've also got the option of the 240 going out the top there for a higher powered item, say like a stove or something like that. Now what we've got here are individual fuses, and these are made of glass, and they just thread in here with this thread here, and then the centre contact there. Essentially the copper bus here goes through to the top there, and then the outer ring is what comes across to the individual connection on the side for your circuit wiring. So glass fuses there, these look to be a fairly old variety. This one here looks to be somewhat more recent, but again it's the same kind of principle there, just the 2 connections either side there and on the end, and then you've got the glass top there so you can see inside whether the fuse has blown or not. And this one of course is not a fuse, this is obviously a circuit breaker as it says on the top there. A little button to just reset that in the case of it overloading. Again, fits exactly the same in there, so of course it could be retrofitted in. Now if you take all these out of here, and you can see that the copper bus bars here just go straight through the top. Now see, this has quite a lot of blackening and charring in it, suggesting it's been considerably overloaded, and the information comes with it says that they were supposed to be all 15 amps, but one of them had a 20 and one had a 25, so fairly likely that's going to be the one for those. Now say these style of fuses is pretty much unknown in the UK, not something we would ever find or see over here, so certainly interesting to see that kind of item. Now so that would be your 4 outlets there for the 4 circuits of 120 volts, and the top here has 2 additional fuses in this which then go through to the terminals here, so then you have a higher powered item at the 240. So if we just remove the front of this and have a look inside here, then what we've got is 2 much larger fuses there. So the copper bars just go right through to these connections here. The fuses of course just bridge across to there, and then you've got your outgoing terminals on the top. So it's 240 between these, but of course it's only 120 between either one of these and the neutral or the ground, whichever you happen to measure between. So although there were 2 fuses, it's not the same as the UK system, which at one time did have a double pole fusing, one in the line and one in the neutral. This is basically 2 lines, and then the neutral of course is separate, so certainly not the same there. Now these fuses are of the cartridge style, so let's just see if we can extract one from there. So just a snap in fixing there. Now we can see these are 35 amps each, 250 volts, and made by the Canadian General Electric Company. Again, these are going to be fairly old items. Say the note code says from the 1960s, so pretty old and not sort of thing you're probably going to use these days, but they do have the sand filling. You can hear that shoveling inside. And I guess just going to be the wire through the centre and then the sand filling to contain any kind of energy once it's exploded. So those basically just snap down into the holder, and then that just plugs into the front of the thing we got there. Manufacturer this one is the Dominion Electric Manufacturing Company Limited in Toronto, Canada, and see 230 volts and 60 amps maximum. So it's basically a 35 amps at the top here, and then obviously lower loads connected on the bottom, but of course 60 amps in total. And certainly that's going to be at the fairly low end of the spectrum. I mean, obviously modern installations no doubt would have significantly higher ratings than that. But say this was in the 1960s, so of course a lot less equipment was in use then. Now I can tell you that this is a fairly sort of modular type of construction, so the top piece there, and then you've got these individual pieces below, so it's certainly possible they may have made these in a longer version, which had more of these modules in there, so you had more outgoing circuits. It only has two, but as you see they are separate components there, so it just needs longer bars with additional ones of these as required. And of course this would fit inside a cabinet or something else with the appropriate neutral terminal, the main incoming breaker and whatever, because we don't have that here, but so certainly some kind of main switch or whatever coming in, and then connections to the neutral and the earth or ground as well. Now these are the fuses, and these are actually glass on the top here, just a metal thread at the bottom, and you can see through inside there, you've got the actual labelling that says 20, so 20 amp fuse there. And you can also see in the middle there the fuse element. So again, if once this is blown, it'll be very obvious just to quickly look inside and see that the actual metal inside has broken, presumably copper or something similar there. Here's the other glass one. Again, these look to be fairly old items, so 15 amp there, so again, clearly visible through the top. And again, you can see the metal element inside, so again, when that's blown, it's fairly obvious to see that. Now this looks to be a more recent type of fuse here, but again, same style and connection. 15 amps on the outside of this one. It's got the same transparent window, so you can see inside and obviously determine whether the fuse element has blown. This appears to be a kind of plastic on the top here, so obviously they've moved away from the glass, so the side again is some kind of plastic material, but not surprising of course, because glass is no doubt more expensive to make than plastic. Now this is a circuit breaker, as it says on the top there, and again same style, so it's a direct replacement for the fuses. A similar style to those Wilex things that we previously had in the UK, where you could remove the fuse and shove in a circuit breaker. Now there's not going to be a huge benefit to changing it to these circuit breakers, because after all it's doing exactly the same job, it's just going to disconnect in the event of an overload or a short circuit. The only benefit here is that once it's done that, you can obviously reset it using the button on the front. But certainly in terms of replacing them, there's no particular safety benefit to having these. It's more of a convenience factor. But again, if your fuses are blowing on a regular basis, then there's some kind of problem. Just shoving a different device in there obviously isn't going to fix that. But this one again, 15 amps again, as we saw previously, and 120 volts AC obviously, and one pole fairly obviously, because it's only got one connection. So look there at a Canadian fuse panel, obviously quite a small one, so it's from the 1960s, so of course they're much bigger these days, but very interesting to see these because this style is unknown in the UK. Even on old installations this type of thing was never used, and also in the UK we do not have any 120 volt appliances or 120 volt circuits, so again this style of arrangement again is completely unknown. Everything over here is 240 or more allegedly 230 these days. Now we'll have a look at these fuses again in a later video, so we'll see if we can get the circuit breaker to trip there and also see what's actually inside these. But until then, thanks for watching.